Excuse me one more time. And we'll get everything set up. All right. Well, I won't keep y'all long because I know realtors like to move around and make money. So, yep. So, I know you already know me, so I want to introduce myself. So, I'm Emile Hurst Jr. I founded a company called LeaseCo. So, LeaseCo is the only pay-as-you-grow property management company, meaning if you have one rental property, you can hire us just for leasing if you're still self-managing your properties. If you have a couple more properties, but you're strapped for time, you can call us just for evictions or for leasing and evictions if it's a multifamily. Yep. And if you say, you know what, I want to be completely hands-off, all I want is direct deposits in my account every month, you can hire us for full property management also. So we, so for leasing, we charge only 60% of whatever rent amount it ends up leasing for. And for full management, we charge 10% of all monies collected. So that's late fee, correct. So that's late fees, that's normal income. And yeah, we created the service that we didn't have. So I started off with buying rental property while I was still a teacher. And all of the property managers that I called, it was either all or nothing. Either you do the leasing yourself and then we'll do the full management, or, you know, you all on your own completely. So you can give us a call or your clients for that client. And we've been helping realtors and other property managers the most over the past 18 months. So clients of divorce situations, one family's moved one place, the other family is moving the other place. Court hasn't really decided to do with the property just yet, so they're renting it out. They call us for that to kind of work in the middle. For my Laplace people that work 12 and 15-hour shifts, we help them out with finding tenants. Also, even, and they may keep self-management in-house also, all the way to the investors that have 50 units. They've been self-managing for years and now they burnt out. And we can do a hybrid where we can manage 25 of them while you manage the other 25, or we just take on all 50 at the time. So whatever you are in your investment career, we could step in and help out. Right?
So let's see y'all charge for evictions.
For evictions, it is $3.99 plus court costs. So depending on the parish, depending on whether it is a constable or it's a full-blown court, our fee is the $3.99. That covers from filing the paperwork, filing the notices. That covers appearing in court. That covers any negotiations or disputes once we are in court. And there are some situations where we kind of mediate before getting to court if there is a pre-existing relationship with the owners and the clients, and they just want that person in the middle, so nobody wants to be the bad guy. That's another hybrid also. Yeah, that's okay. That's why we are here today. So specifically today, we want to talk about evictions. So by the end of the training, I'm not an attorney, but I am a realtor, I am an investor, and I am a property manager. So I don't want you to give legal advice, but at the end of these few minutes, you should be able to just explain the process to your clients. Right. From there, we also want to reduce the fear and uncertainty. I think each of us have either heard of or received the calls. Hey, this tenant hasn't paid me in 2 months. He was a nice guy when I first let him in. He has small kids. He has a pet. He says his mom just died. I don't know what to do. I don't want to put him out on the street. There's a process for that. And there's a conversation and there's a framework for that. Also, I want to introduce or reintroduce or just familiarize you with the different terminologies. So that you could guide your clients and make sure they have realistic expectations. Because we all have some clients that say, this mofo hasn't paid me in 6 months, go out and get him out right now. I want to change the locks, turn off the water and the lights right now. Well, that's illegal, so we can't do that.
I'm glad you said that because somebody I was talking to about what's going on with my Gretna one. Client of mine, he's crazy.
It's a reality.
He's saying, You crazy. He's like, I would have been shut everything off. I was like, I don't think
You
I
going to
can do that.
jail.
He said, well, I didn't tell you, but he's like, I would.
Don't tell me. Yep.
It's like, don't tell me that.
I always tell them, don't tell me, and I didn't hear that.
Right,
So
yeah, I was
if they,
like,
yep. If that is the case, then don't tell us, because we are held to a different standard.
Correct.
All right. So before we get started, just to kind of measure what you already know, what do you think happens first? So your landlord client calls, you just sold them a fourplex out in St. Charles Parish. He says, my tenant hasn't paid rent in 3 months. What do I do now? Off the top of your head. Well, if I'm on a cruise and I'm unavailable, yeah, no, I'm just joking. But from off the top of your head, from the knowledge you do have, what do you think is the first steps? Tenant hasn't paid in 3 months. From what you know, no wrong answers right now. What do you think?
Well, it depends on what parish you're in, right?
Well, so we are in Louisiana right now. So almost.
But does every parish have their own set of eviction rules? Because I've heard two different things.
Okay.
With the 10 days and then the 5 days.
Okay.
And whether your lease has the waiver in it or whether it doesn't.
Yeah.
And so if it has the waiver, you don't have to do the 10-day notice. You can do the 5 days, right? Or have that backwards.
We're about to find out. So
Look, I've been learning with my little process the past 2 weeks.
So step one, the question is, where's your lease? That is step one. So it does depend on whether there is the waiver notice or not, and we'll cover the specific article in the Louisiana statute for the waiver. What do you think?
I mean, that's what I would do. I would go to the lease.
Okay. All right. So we have the lease. Then what's next? So he emails you the lease. You read over the lease. There is no waiver in the lease. The tenant moved in January 1st, 2025, and now they are 3 months behind rent.
Notice to vacate, 5 days.
If there is no waiver, okay.
10 days.
Okay. Maybe, depending on.
I'm 50-50.
That's okay. Depending on what's in the lease, right?
Right.
So normally, notice to vacate 5 days. In some cases where there is no lease at all, it can be a 10-day notice. If it is a client that has housing, you have to still do a 30-day notice, even when they are on any type of housing or subsidized housing program. Correct. So,
Okay, I did not know that.
right. So let's take a look at this quick video. This is one of the extremes, but it is a reality. So this is what evictions look like in real time. It's a short video.
Okay. Shut the door now, bro. How you doing? You Rachel, right?
I just want you to listen for some of the terms that he mentions.
Hey.
I have not even seen the judge yet.
Okay. So, what you have to do is you want to try to have an emergency hearing. You don't see a judge.
Like I have it.
Yeah. Okay. But, okay.
Nobody's even told me this.
Okay. Now, I served you the court documents.
Yes.
So you got served properly. So did
Yes.
you go to court?
Yes.
And what the court judge
Next time
say?
I didn't have court. And I give a letter in the mail.
Okay. Yeah. Here's what this is saying. It's saying that judgment was given on the 11th of August. So that must have been your court date.
No, it's
So-
before.
Well, somebody, okay, God is not with me, man. There's nothing I can do. I'm not the judge. There's nothing I can do. All thing I can do is execute this writ. And I'm gonna go ahead and give you a copy of this writ. If you want to call downtown and speak with the judge, and here's the problem with judges, man. You don't want to call there and tell the judge they don't know what they're doing. So, right. So you want to call down there and find out what's going on. But as far as me, I have to move forward with the eviction.
Are you serious? So like I have to me and my kids don't have anywhere to go?
Yeah, I don't know anything about that, man. Do you have family here?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
My family in Mississippi.
Okay.
I literally just sold my car yesterday.
Right. Okay, well, this is how it works on my end. I'm going to come in and start taking pictures of everything.
Right now.
right now. When you don't
So I'm gonna just pin it here. We'll continue in the next few seconds. So you heard the term. He says that I served you the notice. So you already described the 5-day notice. So it also depends on your lease. So without a waiver notice, 5-day notice to vacate needs to be posted on the door. In most cases, you need to take a photo of that notice
Yeah.
and turn that in with
You
the.
leave it on the door. You don't have to physically.
No. So, and you can also mail it, which is my recommendation. So either post it, take a photo of it. When you file for eviction, you have to bring a photo of the notice to vacate showing visibly the property structure, the address, and the front door in addition to your lease. And then parish by parish is when you will fill out court specific eviction paperwork. So some justices of the peace, they may say, just email me the lease, email me your ledger, and I'll call you and give you a court date. In Orleans Parish, for example, you have to actually go to the First City Court and fill out their paperwork and then wait on a court date over the next few weeks pushed out.
I think
Right?
JP's the same.
It depends on what part of Jefferson
Yeah,
Parish. So
right.
some parts of Marrero are split between the court that's downtown and the Justice of the Peace that's on West Bank Expressway. And some parts of Harvey are split also. So it just depends on the address of the property in Jefferson Parish, right? But before the video went too far along, I wanted to decipher the two different notices because he said, I'm the one that served you the notice, so I know you had court. So the notice to vacate comes before the actual eviction filing. Once you serve that notice to vacate and pay for the eviction filing, then you also go down and pay the constable. And the constable is the one that serves the subpoena for them to go to court. Now, the constable is the one that actually knock on the door, wait for somebody to answer the door, and they'll also physically post it.
Okay.
So as far as protecting yourself once you get to court, you have the photo snapshot of the notice that you put in. You paid the constable, so you have the receipt that you paid the constable, and then the constable will also have a copy of the subpoena that they posted, and it'll be time stamped also. Right?
But during this time, they're still staying in the property.
They are still in the property,
What
so
if they're damaging the property?
that is very likely, and that is something that you will have to deal with after they've been ejected from the property. So it is a delicate situation. To just get the elephant out the room with your clients, I would just tell them, listen, first of all, don't accept any money, because if you accept $1, it restarts the entire process. Whether they owe you $1,500 or $15,000, yeah,
Well, I said, might as well get something.
Yeah.
That's
Because
true.
we're already halfway through the month, so she
That's
gave
true.
me like half,
Mhm.
and then she said, well, November 27th, which is coming up, she's gonna pay the rest.
Right.
I said, well, might as well get something while she's there, because she's obviously not freaking leaving.
That's true.
And then I said, come December 1st, and it's due by the 5th, if she doesn't do it, whatever,
Hey,
then now I'm a file, but at least I got half of it, you know?
yes.
Give me
Well,
something.
it is very
Yeah.
risky, depending on whether it's a justice of the peace or the judge. They can consider that as partial payments, and you'll have to restart the entire process, right? So just giving you a heads up, is strictly dependent on the judge or the justice of the peace. That's what you're subject to. Just something to think about.
Find out November 27th.
Let's see.
It's so crazy because if the lease says eviction at a certain time, you should just be able to call the police, get them out.
Right.
Here's the date. You
Right.
haven't
Yeah.
paid,
But I feel
goodbye.
like the laws are definitely in favor of the tenants.
Yeah.
Depending on the state,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I think here they are.
Now, what gives you more favor is the parishes that do have justices of the peace. So I think they are more landlord, I don't want to say landlord friendly, but they're definitely considerate to the situations of the
Yeah,
landlord.
this is justice of the peace for where I'm at, or where my property's at, Judge Wiltie.
Okay, so I would call before they make that second payment and ask, if I accept this partial payment, will we still be able to
Yeah.
move forward the process? Now, the reason why I say that, there are some judges of the peace. If you bring in that payment and return it back to the resident in court, then you can still move forward with the rest of the process. But that is strictly dependent on a judge and or the justice of the peace. So it's always good to have that conversation on the front end before you pay the $150 for eviction and then the other $125 for the constable,
Yeah.
and then the court throws it out and make you go through the entire process all over again. So, for example, Justice of the Peace Roscoe I think it's Roscoe Crawford. He is in River Ridge. Very small office. You could walk in. He's the one at the front desk. He does everything. He files his own paperwork, answers the phone, does his own email. Totally different experience when you go down to Orleans Parish, where you have to sit and wait on a court date for the next 2 or 3 weeks. In River Ridge, you can get a court date the following Tuesday, the following Thursday. It's that instant, right? So mentioning that because on the front end, when you're showing your investors different rental property, not taking anything away from Orleans Parish, but if there is a fourplex in River Ridge versus a fourplex in Orleans Parish, and they self-managing, I would definitely lean toward the River Ridge, only because I know at the worst case scenario, if I need to evict, that there's a very small justice of the peace where I can drive down, drop off the paperwork, and get a court date next week instead of 2 or 3 weeks down the line. Last thing, also in Orleans Parish, there are legal aid attorneys that are stationed at the front of the courthouse. So whether the resident was correct or incorrect in being evicted, there are legal representatives that are there to help them through that process for free. That's the only parish that I know that does that during the eviction process. And us as investors, realtors, and landlords don't get free legal aid at all. So that's another thing to consider.
But can you sue the tenant for all the court costs and fees that it
Up
costs
to,
evict?
yes, you can. So small claims court, which in most cases the same justice of the peace or the same court, can also do the small claim. So any damages up to $5,000 is considered small claims. So if there are damages, if there are loss of rents, then after the eviction, after they've been ejected, you can file for a small claims judgment and have them subpoena to court also. And that's when you get put in position to where you can garnish wages, put collections on their credit and things like that once you get the judgment.
Yeah.
So that is an option. You just have to.
Statistically, how many people have done that and actually want to get to
I have no
How
clue.
long it takes. Because usually
Right.
small claims court,
It takes a
forever.
while.
Yeah, I agree.
For me, it would be principle at that point. Like, I'm gonna go through it even if it takes 2 years.
Yeah.
because You didn't pay your rent.
So that is definitely owner
So
and
what
manager
do you sue them
preference.
for? Do you sue them for just the missed rent, or do you sue them
Well,
for
that's
the
what
whole
he was
lease
saying.
term?
Whatever some
of
the
rents.
total. So you can go after specifically the loss of rents, or if it is $3,000 in lost rents and another another $1,900 in
Sue
damages.
them for all the months that they're technically not there, even though because they signed a lease and they,
You can pursue that, but if it goes over the 5,000, it won't be in small claims court.
What?
If it goes over 5,000, you can still pursue them for whichever amount, but to keep in the small claims court, it has to be under $5,000.
And if they can't afford the 5,000, that's when you start garnishing wages and stuff like that.
That's an option. So then you have to reach out to a collections attorney
Yeah.
to pursue the judgments.
Just like child support.
Yep. So the chase would begin at that point. So in this instance, I know you missed a few minutes of it. She received a subpoena to go to court. She says she went to court and they told her that they will mail her a decision, which that's not the way that works. Whenever you go to court, if the resident does not show up to court at all, then case is dismissed and then the owner gets rule of possession.
Always a decision there, and then they make you go to the rule or clerk office.
In most cases, yes. The decision is made that day in court, and then you will go down and pay the constable to schedule for the ejection. And we'll get into the definition of that. Yep.
So if they don't show up to court, you can just go.
So make sure you always show up to court or send a representative. But if the
Right,
residents,
you'll show up.
if the resident does not, in most cases, it's an automatic rule of possession, meaning that you get possession back. But that doesn't mean you turn around and walk out. The next steps is to pay the constable to schedule for ejection. So
Okay.
ejection is after you get possession back of your property, but to physically get it back and change the locks and move all of the materials out of the apartment, the constable needs to be there. And you have to hire labor, which you can add that onto the bill. When you do pursue the small claims court, you can charge that back, but the constable has to
Hire
be there for
yourself?
security. That's risky.
$150 an hour?
You could. And then you mean, and then in the future build that back to, yeah, you can make any line item you want.
Right. Just itemize it.
And if it's over, but if it goes over 5,000, then it won't be small claims at that point. So I'll give you an example.
Would it
So
get added onto that, or do you make a separate small claims for
to make two separate under $5,000, that's going to be a court question for that.
Yeah.
That's smart though.
I'm about to say, because
Right.
you don't want to put it all in one. If you're
Yeah.
also doing the labor and charging yourself, just make a separate small claims court.
That's
Yeah.
that. So we know in real estate, whatever makes sense to us ends up not making sense to everybody else.
Correct.
Right.
We see
So
the whole picture
that makes
from all
sense.
ends.
That makes sense. So that's a court question. That's a justice of the peace question. So can I file one claim for back rent, and then can I file another claim for damages, labor, and then other admin charges? And when I say admin charge, for example, for our property management clients, we charge back to the resident the $150 for eviction, and then we also charge the $80 per hour that we pay somebody to actually be in court to show up. If
It doesn't. Huh?
yep, so that goes back. So whenever they do pay to stay in the unit, they will pay the rent, the late fee, eviction costs, and the labor costs that we charge for somebody to actually be in court to represent our organization. Right? So let's see how this plays out before we get into the notes.
Hours to put a bra on, to get my kid dressed. Can I talk?
Yeah, you can talk, whoever you want to talk to. Now, you having the animals in here?
Yeah.
Here, a dog.
No.
You need to put what kind of dog is it?
Shit is my dog. I'm trying to make my out. It's a mess in here. Can you just give me a minute, please?
It doesn't work that way. Now, I can give you a couple of minutes.
My kid's in here naked.
Okay, you go put the kids, get their cars and stuff on. So I still have to make entry. I'm not gonna.
Can you just give me a minute, please?
No, ma'am. It doesn't work.
Please.
Ma'am, it doesn't work that way.
That's why you want the constable there.
Well, can we just talk? Just give me a minute.
It doesn't work that way, man.
I can't do
Okay,
this right now.
go get the kids together. And all that. I'm gonna give you time to do that. But I'm gonna give you time when I'm making the entry. I'm gonna go ahead and start taking my photos. Go ahead and get those
Look,
kids
my baby
together.
is naked. Can you just? Okay.
So this is the constable.
Yes, ma'am.
Just the constable.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm begging you.
Ma'am, go ahead and
I'd
get
be
your
like, fine,
kids and stuff
stay.
together.
Like, I can't. I'm gonna cook.
That's why I think because well I got irate and she's like, why are you irate? I'm like, get out of my face.
Carpet setting.
That's fine, man.
What is all that shit?
So can landlords not do routine checkups on the property?
Yes, you can, especially if you put it in your if you put in your lease.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
My AC guy's my good friend, so when he goes and does things, he like lets me know what's
I'll
going
freak
on.
out
Yeah.
if I leave a dish in the sink for more than 24 hours. Like, I am OCD. That's great.
So while you're doing a walkthrough, in most cases, the constable is only reserved between 1 to 3 hours. So they always tell you to have at least 2 labor people, because the constable is there for security, and then your labor people are going in and putting everything out on the curb. So they get, number one, they already received notice that this day was coming. Depending on the parish, they'll also receive a text message letting them know the day and the time that they'll show up. So this doesn't happen without notice, because the parish and the city will always try to cover themselves.
Can't afford rent before you're
On the other side of this, besides eviction for non-payment, what about CPS in the living
I was
conditions?
about
Yeah.
to
And,
say
like-
that. I'm like, the kid living there like that?
Wouldn't
Not
that be
big enough
another
footage of
reason
it
for
now.
eviction? That's wild. Somebody's
Yep.
like that.
So I'll get into the why real quick of why this is important. Number one, the clients trust us. We're the point of contact for real estate, period. So they call us instantly, expecting us to know these things. Eviction can create anxiety and confusion, especially when you are standing in court. If you've never been to court for anything else before, now this is your first time in court, you stand there and watch all these different court cases. You see the judge chew people out, and there's nothing like Judge Judy. So it can create anxiety. So your guidance helps build trust. But most of all, we want to make sure our clients don't lose too much time and money, because if they have a horrible experience with rental property, they're not going to buy another one. right?
I got evicted once,
You
but
did?
it was their fault, not mine. It
Wow.
was actually their fault because they were switching property managers. So
Yeah.
they were switching companies. So when I paid rent, it accidentally went to the old property manager, and they didn't call me and be like, "Hey, we haven't gotten your rent yet." They didn't do nothing. They
Yeah.
waited 10 days after to be like, "Okay, now we're evicting you." I'm like, "Why? I paid my rent." And they were
Wow.
like, "No, you didn't." So it took me. I had to pay another rent up front,
Hmm.
and which killed me. And then I didn't get the proof from the other property manager until 3 months later that I actually paid.
But then
which I
they
did.
credited it to
They
you.
did. I
account.
did.
Yeah.
No, they just told me not to pay rent the next month.
Mm.
So I did that, but I still got an eviction notice. So I was like, "You put that on my credit, and I will sue you. Don't
Yeah.
do that."
Oh yeah.
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 It's like, that's not my fault. That is y'all's fault.
I agree. Right. So one of the things that you first missed when we first came in, we asked the question. One of your clients called, said the tenant hasn't paid for 3 months. What's next steps? So our answer is it depends. It depends on your lease. If we assume that it is a lease that's just a state lease that does not have the waiver, then the next steps would be the notice to vacate. Notice to vacate is a 5-day notice. You can get it from ChatGPT, you can get it from LegalZoom, you can get it from Google. All the courts are looking for is that you have a date, the name of the occupants, and your information saying that you have 5-day notice. You have 5 days to move from this property, right? After that 5-day notice, then you can go in and actually file for eviction. And the objective for that is to get a rule of possession. Because right now, when you sign that lease, you leased your possession to the to the resident.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have to get full possession back of that unit so that you can do what you need to do.
So did they change it? Because I thought it used to be 10 days to leave.
Ah.
It depends. So if there is no written lease, depending on the agreement and the arrangement, how long the people have been there, then a 10-day notice may be required. In most cases, it's a 5-day notice. If you are ever uncertain or confused on which notice to go with, because there are some leases that were verbal or just non-written, somebody moved out,
Right.
somebody else sublet, the mom passed away and now the kids are living in the property. That's our reality. So you can always ask the constable, you can always ask the justice of the peace of the court, hey, this is the situation. I had a lease with a couple. The girlfriend dumped the boyfriend. He's still in the unit. He won't leave. How many days do I have to give him? Right? Or I have an elderly person that passed away. She still has 2 adult children living in the property. How much notice do I need? Because nobody's paying rent. How much notice am I supposed to give? Because these are instances that actually happen. So if you're ever uncertain, all you have to do is call the justice of the peace or the court, and they'll be able to tell you exactly. And that also puts the burden back on them, especially if you could get it in writing, in an email. When you go down to file for eviction, and they say this is not time to file eviction, but you can say, hey, I talked to Shelly. Shelly told me based on the situation, I only need to give a 5-day notice. I'm here to pay for eviction. All right.
And the 5 days does not include
Weekends or holidays.
I was like,
And it
like
acts.
the week of a
Five
holiday and a
business
weekend. He's like, so she hasn't. I was like, man, come on, ladies, pay rent.
So if you file a 5-day notice tomorrow, which is Wednesday, they won't count Thursday, which is Thanksgiving. So that gives you today, then Friday.
Friday count?
No.
Is that
Well,
right?
it depends. So that's a question that I would ask because
Right.
it's a day after a holiday.
Yeah.
So I would ask that to be sure because you can only go in and pay for that eviction on the 6th day.
Correct.
So for those of us that have to file evictions for give 5-day notices tomorrow, we have tomorrow, gotta skip Thursday, Friday, possibly,
Right.
and
No Saturday,
you
Sunday.
don't count Saturday and Sunday, and it picks back up Monday, Tuesday, and
So-
Wednesday.
Technically, if you give an eviction, can they still pay the rent between that eviction period until it's over?
Well, that's what we were talking about earlier. If you accept payment, it depends
Partial.
on partial payment.
Even if it's
Yeah.
partial, that's accepting it.
That is.
Yeah.
So if you accept $1, so what we
That's
do
what he
is,
told me. He said, do not accept payment if you're going
no,
to do it.
once we file for eviction, we
did.
block them on Venmo, we block all of their portals, right? Because
Oh.
depending on, because even if they send in, we've had that happen. We had a person that was behind 2 months. they sent in $40, and I'm pretty sure legal aid told them to do this. They sent in $40 through Venmo,
Wow.
and then when we got to court, they showed that they paid the $40.
But what if it
Right.
comes from another person? Because when she sent me the partial payment, it came from somebody totally different, even though it said
Mhm.
$925 rent.
Yeah, I have not had that instance. That's a good
And I was
question.
like, who's fucking name?
Right.
Is this?
Yeah.
What if you
But I
don't?
was like, she
what
sent
if,
it.
What if you
so-
don't deposit it though? You technically didn't receive it.
Well, she sent it Zelle, so it went straight
Oh.
into one of my.
Yeah,
accounts.
so Zelle, Venmo, Cash App.
But-
Stupid.
But
Yeah.
I also told her many times, I do not accept payment, PayPal or this. It's
Mhm.
only to be this way. And she kept sending it the way that I told her not to send it. So
Yeah.
I wonder how that would stand up in court, being that the lease specifies a certain way.
Hmm.
It was written to her in text message 3 times, and she still sent it
That's
away.
a good idea though. Somebody else sent you
Mhm.
money.
Yeah. So I'm not sure. I would leave that up to the judge, but
Yeah.
judges aren't stupid.
Correct.
So I would, in addition to that, always bring a blank money order prepared for the amount that they did send in, and you can let the judge know we want to move forward with rule of possession. Here's certified funds, and we'll fill it out to whoever the resident wants us to fill it out to, and we're returning back the money that they paid in.
That's crazy.
Right? That is one way. So I want to get the exact term.
And I know our lease and pipeline that we have for agents to use, that's the one that I always use,
Mhm.
has that waiver of notice, that clause written into that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
Okay.
it. Make sure you have that.
Let me go check.
Yep. So this is the waiver notice. You can Google it. It's Louisiana state law. So up front, if you have the waiver notice in your lease, that means you do not have to do the 5-day notice. So that means if in your lease it says that rent is due on the 1st and it's late after that, we won't accept any other rents after that. That means on the 2nd, if your lease is written like that up front, you can go in and straight file for eviction. You don't have to do the 5-day notice.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure that this waiver of notice is in your lease. So that's saying up front that the resident agreed soon as they moved in, when they took possession of this property, that if they default, that a notice is not required at all, right? So I think it's one of the things that is better to need it. Better to have it and not need it, than vice versa, because it does give you the flexibility, especially.
Sounds like you need that for this one.
What?
Sounds like you need.
You
it.
should have it if you used our lease, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yep. So that means that you could go straight to the justice of the peace, and they'll ask you, is there a waiver in the lease? So my advice is to always highlight it, underline it. Okay.
I was on my way there. It was 8:50, and she called me. And she was like, "I promise." She sent partial payment,
Mm-hmm.
and then she's like, "I'll send the rest November 27th." That's why I sat there for a few, and I said, "Let me think this out. Do
Yeah.
I at least accept half? We're halfway through the month,
Yep.
and get something." And then come December, if she doesn't pay by December 5th, then file the eviction, like just go straight there and file it, because I've already talked to the judge and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Or do I just do it now, and then she's there for a month and a half and have no money?
Yeah.
So I accepted the partial payment. I said, might as well get something, and then come December 5th, if she does not pay the remaining balance, and that portion, then I'm just gonna go straight and file it.
Right.
The waiver.
That's always a strategy,
Yeah. I
right?
had to think about it. I was like, get a little bit now, or possibly get nothing at all.
And what's the
Get
history?
paid every 2 weeks.
What's the history of
What's
it?
the history of the resident? That's what we kind of
So she
fall
just
back
moved
on.
in. She moved in October 27th.
Mm-hmm.
She sent me the deposit. I went out of the country, so this is my fault. Normally I'm on top of things. I went out of the country. I wasn't having good service. She got the keys to the property. She moved in. When it came time to pay the rent as well, not just the deposit, she said, "Okay, I'm gonna send it." I was like, "I'm gonna send it."
Mm-hmm.
I was out of the country for 2.5 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Still didn't get it. I got back. I immediately started calling her, and she's like, "Oh, I thought I sent it." I said, "No, you did not."
So this the second week of November at this point.
Correct.
Mhm.
And I said, "Well, now you owe for November as well. So here's your total." And I sent it to her in text. "Okay, I'm gonna send it." Okay, I sent it PayPal. I said, "I'm not understanding why you're sending it PayPal.
Mhm.
Your lease says how to send it. I do not have a PayPal account." She said, "Well, I must have sent it to the wrong person." I said, "Well, send me documentation showing you
Screenshot
sent it
it.
to the wrong person."
If you don't have a
Screen.
PayPal account anyway, how did it even send?
Correct. So I started, the red flags started coming. Then it was like, "Well, I had an emergency. I went to the hospital. Da 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 da. This and that." I said, "Listen,
And you're
You
not
cannot
getting your
stay in this
hospital bill
property
until
for
another
free.
6 months.
send me something." "Oh, I'm gonna send it. So then I said, you know what? I'm not doing this. I went to go put the notice on her door.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 6 o'clock in the evening. Everybody's like, you're going by yourself? I said, I don't care. Yeah, I'm going by myself. Like, you
Yeah.
get your ass kicked. I said, no,
Yeah.
I'm not.
I feel like
So I pull up. There's 2 cars in the driveway. She's in the car sitting. She gets out. She's like, Miss Melissa. I said, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. So I explained to her about her lease with it having the waiver, 10 days to get out. I'm putting her in the door. She's trying to communicate with me. And I was like, get out of my face. And she's like, why are you so mad? I said, you are staying in somebody else's home, mine, where I pay the mortgage, I pay the taxes, I pay the insurance. And you think you're going to live here for free? I said, not only that, you reached out to my HVAC guy for him to come service the unit when it was just serviced, which I don't even know how you got his name and number, but you don't want to pay your rent?
That's crazy.
And you tell me the heater's not working, saying you're not getting heat. I said, I'm not turning the heater on. Like, I'm sorry, you got to pay to stay.
Why are you even
Please.
doing work on your half?
Right.
If any work needs to be done,
Please
you
let me pay.
contact
I said, no, I'm going to be at the courthouse at 9 a.m. I was on my way there, and she's calling me at 8:50. I promise. I said, I have nothing from you. I'm literally walking into the courthouse to talk to Judge Wilty. If you want, you can call and verify. And the next thing you know, I got a payment for half of the rent.
Right.
It was from somebody else's name, but it said my address with the rent. I said, look, at least I got something. And I said, well, when can you pay the rest? She said, I get paid on the 26th or something. I get paid on the 27th. So if you do not pay the remaining balance on the 27th, I will be there on the 28th
Yeah.
to file for the eviction. I
Yep.
said, how you planning on covering December? Well, you know, I'm transitioning from Texas to here. Every excuse under the sun.
Yeah,
And she started messaging me, and I stopped communicating to the point where I got my brother to call her. I said, please tell her you are property management, whatever you want to tell her, and that you're now involved. I don't want to communicate anymore with this lady.
Yeah.
Like, I've had enough. It was like sob story after this, after excuse, after that, and I was just like, I'm done communicating.
Yeah.
So we'll see, November 27th.
So 2 things. I know we're talking about evictions.
Not one time.
She paid the security deposit, and yeah, that was it. And then she moved in, and then didn't pay
But
it
she
all.
had somebody else pay it, so technically she didn't really pay it.
That
She
that
probably
was
just
my
asked somebody
question.
who had the money to pay it for her. And
Right,
she was
so-
gonna pay it back.
Does that count as partial payment?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's up to the judge.
Right.
But what I would do is still have a money, or if you absolutely want it out of the property, if it gets to that point, historically it sounds like it will, then have a money order and say we'll return it, right back to her
I'm calling
right
her.
now. Yep. I don't think it'll get to that
I don't want to
point.
communicate with this lady
Yeah.
anymore. Like I don't do well with people that don't pay their bills.
Then I would definitely
You're
outsource it.
living there.
Don't go by yourself again either.
I know everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody was like, "You're." I'm like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we care about you enough to say don't go again by yourself. All right?
There's all kinds. There was somebody else hanging out with her.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yep. So notice to vacate. We're just going through some quick terms right quick. So notice to vacate is what you'll file if you do not have that waiver in your lease. All right. And you can also always copy and paste Google, ChatGPT what that waiver is for Louisiana. All right. So next steps after the 5-day notice. Justice of the peace or the judge is going to give you a court date or a hearing date, depending on what parish you're in. It could be as short as next week. It could be as far as 2 to 3 weeks, especially if you're running into the holidays, Mardi Gras, things like that. The objective, depending on your strategy and what you absolutely want out of the situation, is to get judgment of possession. Right now, you signed a lease. That resident has quiet enjoyment rights right now. The possession belongs to them, and you have to go through a court order for you to get possession back of that unit to you. So judgment of possession is what you are going for, or the payment plan that you just described, you can get that court ordered instead of just a text message of a promise to pay. So you can not accept money or accept partial payment, actually go to court and say, listen, judge, we want a payment plan to where she is going to pay the other half today. If she does not pay by December 5th, then we would like to pay for the constable to move forward with ejection. Again,
Can I
that's
still do that
completely up to, I would call Justice of the Peace and let them know. Yep. But you can go to court to get court ordered payment plans. The difference is the payment plan just between the text message or email, you can't enforce it. When it's a court ordered payment plan, if they default on what they agreed to do, then you can take your judgment of possession and go to the constable and pay for your warrant for them to come out and start the ejection process.
Got it.
So what we're describing now is the eviction process, from the notice to the hearing to your judgment of possession. Then ejection is when the person is actually getting all of their belongings taken out, and constable is there for security while your labor removes everything from the unit.
And will
Right.
you be there as well?
You can be, but it sounds like you don't need to be there.
I want to be there.
Yeah. Nah, I think you should just get binoculars with the Inspector Gadget trench coat with the hat. Yep.
Get or someone to come with you.
Yep. What? Stay far away from it. All right. So writ of possession is what you get from the judge that actually starts the process of the constable scheduling and making sure that they'll be there at a certain time for your labor to be there to get everybody removed. So that is what the judge will sign. You take that, you walk it down to the constable. Here's my writ of possession or warrant, depending on the courts or what they might call it. And then you pay the constable their fee, which those are two separate fees. You pay the courts and you pay the constable. Those are two separate fees.
Okay.
All right. And then the ejection is when the sheriff physically goes out and removes the tenant, or at least is there while your labor changes the locks and physically removes the possessions of the
when
tenants.
you get to that point, are the tenants more willing at that point when the constable's there to remove them, or do they have to forcefully?
Yeah, it depends.
I would
So
forcefully, if I had to.
I mean,
it depends. So I'll give you an example. So in most cases during this entire process, residents are either trying to create payment plans, trying to scrape everything together so they don't have to go to court and be at the mercy of the judge to get a judgment. I think that'll set the tone to let you know what type of resident you're dealing with.
yeah.
On the flip side, this is also a part of the process where they become the most disrespectful, the most irate. They start harassing the neighbors. They leave things out. They stop paying for utilities. I think each of those experiences will describe what the ejection process will look like.
Okay.
So we've managed apartment complexes where people have barricaded themselves in the unit, where the constable has to call for backup. And we've also had it to where the constable showed up, we changed the locks and walked in, and it was squeaky clean. They moved out before constable even came. So that's why my suggestion is not to show up with yourself, follow the law, and have that protection. Because if anything happens, if somebody's gonna get shot, then I'd rather an armed person be shot at than me, and then I have to justify to the courts why I reacted and shot somebody and killed their dog, right?
Yeah.
So leave that up to the sheriff to defend themselves. All you have to do is provide the labor, and I don't recommend you be there, right?
I'd rather the term where you can do like the eviction immediately.
Yeah.
Because there was one time we had to do an eviction for my mom, and the girl got so upset she punched holes in the walls and stuffed it with stuff. It's like she literally stuffed the inside of the sheetrock
Same.
with
Yeah.
stuff, and like dirty diapers. There was feces everywhere.
Yep.
She got so mad.
That's what I'm concerned about, because I just redid all the flooring, the paint. Like, I just redid that unit.
Yeah. I
Can
mean,
you sue them for that if they do that as well?
yeah, you can sue anybody for anything.
Right.
We see that every day. But you have to measure as an owner and as a realtor, when you're advising your clients, or even as the owner, you got to weigh your options on, is this worth it to pursue, right? And what exactly am I going to recoup it? Yep. Then hey, I would advise you to be as aggressive as you want to be, right? So abandonment, this is when the tenant, they're not responding to the phone calls. Neighbor says they haven't seen calls for days. Utilities have been shut off. That is another reason to file for eviction. If there is evidence of abandonment, the resident still has possession of that unit. So legally, you still have to get possession back legally.
Wow.
So even though it's been abandoned, even though utilities have been shut off, legally you still have to go through the eviction process to change the locks, get possession, get your own keys, and then move forward with renting that unit out again. Because the way the courts look at it, they have the authority and the right to do whatever they want with their property, not having utilities shut off, but if nobody haven't seen them for days, if they haven't been in the unit, nobody said that they haven't been in a hospital in a coma, nobody can't say that they moved in with a boyfriend. So it's not your right to go in and then release the unit because nobody hasn't seen them. So I think that's the objective way to look at it, right? With abandonment, with security deposits, that's completely up to you. Now, after you found out the reason why they abandoned the unit, I caught COVID, ended up being in a coma for 6 months. I had a baby. I was in recovery for 6 months.
Yeah.
Depending on what it is, because there are some justified reasons why you might abandon a unit. From there, you have 30 days, and also depending on your lease, you have at least 30 days to return the deposit back to them. Evictions, you don't have to return that deposit. They forfeited their deposit.
Okay.
So that's not the case with evictions. But with abandonment, it is up to you whether you want to return that deposit or not, right? Now, in some of our owners' leases, it says that the deposit is returned in 60 days rather than 30 days because they want to walk through, they want to get itemized estimates on the repairs, and we know that that takes time because you're at the mercy of your contractors. So if you don't spell it out in your lease,
The lease would supersede that rule.
correct.
Okay.
But in most cases, we want to go with the assumption that this was owner that was servicing. They're not experienced property managers, so they probably don't have these things in place. So in most cases, they need to return their deposit in 30 days if abandonment is the case and is justified, right? It came out. All right, let's see if I can highlight it. So, all right, so these are the steps of eviction in Louisiana. So how we started off with that question, your client calls you, says, hey, my stepdaughter's been living in a unit. Me and my husband just got married. She's 35 years old. He doesn't want me to put her out. What should I do, Missy? Well, these are the steps. So first off, you still have to do the notice to vacate, which the amount of days depends on whether they have a lease or not, right? Next step is filing for rule of possession. That's when you actually go down to the court, fill out the paperwork, give them a copy of the lease. Then from there, you'll have the court date. That's when you show up, they show up or not, and each of you state your case. And then from there, you either negotiate judgment of possession or a court ordered payment plan where you can either delay or just eliminate that judgment of possession, depending on the case. That's up to you. But if you do move forward with judgment of possession, the judge will give you what's called a writ of possession or a warrant, and then you walk down the hall to the sheriff's office, and then you pay the sheriff to schedule a date where they actually come up with their deputies, and you have your labor, and that's when the person is locked out of the unit because you change the locks and remove all of their belongings, right? So another thing also, depending on the parish, you also have to be mindful of how long those possessions stay out on the curb, because code enforcement can end up charging you as the owner if the trash doesn't pick it up, and depending on, if there are complaints in the neighborhood. So let's say the person they moved away to Delaware, you put all the belongings out, but there's been papers flying up and down the street. There's been people stealing the clothes. The dresser was already rotted, and now pieces of wood are flying all around. You can still be cited for code enforcement if those possessions stay out for too long. So when you have your labor, keep that in mind. Some owners put the stuff in a roll-off dumpster, or they'll put the big things on the outside and then just put trash on the roll-off dumpster. But that is something to consider. We saw how messy in the example video, how messy that was. So imagine how many trash bags of stuff that'll end up being by putting that outside. All right? Yep. So notice to vacate, the things that you want to include. So 5-day notice, no weekends or holidays. So must be written unless the lease says otherwise. Now writing, that's email, that's text message, and that's also printed, right? So I always say at least 2. 3 is good, but you want to communicate that 5-day notice in as many different ways in writing as possible. We do email and we also do certified mail. Deliver by hand, posted or certified mail, and accepting rent resets everything, right? So just keep that in mind. Now, not saying strategically you can't accept, because what you can do, just like you did, if we already are at the end of the month, you can either schedule, so you can have them complete the promise to pay, saying that, hey, I'll pay half right now, I'll pay the other half on the 27th. Okay, fine. In this promise to pay document, if you don't pay on the 28th, we are going to file for possession and we are not accepting any more funds. So if that's the case, you can go ahead and file. That is when you want to have that conversation with the justice of the peace of the judge and say, this is the situation. If I return this partial payment back to them at court, what would be the next steps? Or do I have to wait one more week and file on the 5th? Those are your 2 options, right? Because if they're late this month,
keep that partial payment, and then
that's
on
true.
the 5th, if it's just 7 days, I mean, might as well keep my money.
That's
They
completely,
still owe you money in the first place.
Right.
Yep.
It's like,
So might as well get something from
at
it.
least
Yep.
the claim would just be a little bit less.
that I will not argue with that. All right. So rule of possession filed at the courthouse. The sheriff serves the tenant, and the hearing is normally between 3 to 10 days, depending on the parish. So right now, my favorite parish is, well, my favorite part of the parish is River Ridge right now, because like I said, we filed today. Today is Wednesday. The following Tuesday, I can get a court date at 10 a.m. Never fails. But so that is something to
We're all
consider.
Like that, huh?
Yeah, but they're not.
All of our properties are in Orleans.
Really?
Oh, whenever somebody tells me they want to buy multifamily in Orleans, I said, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but I just don't condone it.
You just have to
Between the
be.
sewage and water board, between the taxes, between the type of tenants, no offense,
Yep.
but like you're asking for
It's
a
horrible.
headache.
I agree.
I'm
All right.
not ever buying
You know
Orleans.
whose fault it is?
Huh.
Fucking Blaine. That's
Why would y'all listen to him of all people?
I
He doesn't even own property
don't.
himself.
Oh
you know,
man.
I mean,
You take advice from somebody that doesn't own property himself,
Yeah.
or manages,
It's
or
a
has a
headache.
house. Like,
it's alright.
Wow.
well,
Well-
Emile to take over.
Yeah. So the hearing, what that looks like, the judge is going to look over the lease, the notice, and the rent ledger. Now the rent ledger is what will protect you with collecting in full how much is actually owed. So for the people that don't use the property management software, I would just keep track of the rent that's due, the late fee that you prefer to charge, the eviction court costs that you've already paid, and just keep either in a Google Sheets or
That's
some
what I
type
started
of,
doing.
just keep it digital so you don't lose it, and you want to bring that to court. So once they review the lease, they saw the notice, they saw that you did the notice the correct way. You said they owed you $2,000. The lease ledger says the same thing. If there is no dispute from the tenant, then that's when you get the judgment of possession. So that's what court looks like if you actually ever have to go to court, right? So judgment of possession, tenant gets 24 hours to vacate. In most cases, depending on how well they plead to the judge, they may give them a day or so, or they may turn and ask to you. They may say, hey, Melissa, it's Friday. Either we can give them the 24 hours, or would you like them to be out by Monday? It's up to you. Whatever you tell them. Yeah. Whatever you tell them, that is what they'll put on the judgment. And after that date is when the constable will be scheduled. All right. So the judge may grant extensions. And this is the legal clearance for the next steps. Right. So the writ of possession. So if they are not gone in those 24 hours, that's when you can take the writ and go down to the sheriff and schedule the time for the removal.
How
Right.
much of a time frame is it between when you request the writ and they actually schedule? Is it like 2 days, a week?
Depends on the parish. So I can tell you again. So with With River Ridge, if you have court that Tuesday, the constable can come out next day. Orleans Parish, you have court, you get your writ, you pay the sheriff. You know what they're gonna tell you? They'll call you. And we've seen it, especially if it's around Mardi Gras, especially if it's around, well, not even that, just busy times of the season. Normally, because it's the Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office that serves as the constable. So if they're working overtime at these different events, or they're just not available, or an inmate just escaped and they just not available.
Which is more than likely
Right.
the other option.
So what that does is that pushes back their timeline because they only assign maybe 1 to 3. Whenever the sheriff calls me, I have the number saved in my phone. It's always the same deputy that calls every time. So that means that's that one deputy that's responsible for all of Orleans Parish. So it just depends on the workload.
Poor guy.
Yep.
Poor Orleans Parish.
Yep. So now remember, this is Orleans Parish. So this is condos, apartment complexes, duplexes, fourplexes, single family. Right.
Yeah.
So the workload is crazy. So the day of ejection, they'll call. They'll say, hey, we'll be there at 9 a.m. November 28th. Make sure you have your labor ready. So they'll stand there and act as security while, number one, you knock and see who's inside. That's first off, giving them an opportunity to get the possessions out, if not. And then from there, that's when your labor person will start to change the locks on all the different doors so that way they can't go back in later on. So, yep, I would definitely do everything while the constable is there. So they normally are there from that 1 to 3 hour window. And then I think after that is so many dollars per hour. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but then you have to pay per hour after that. So this is when the burden is kind of on you as the owner to make sure you have enough labor that's available to clear those belongings out.
But do they tell the tenant, hey, you have 1 hour to get out?
So in most cases, so they get a notice. So number one, the tenant was in court with you and the judge told him you have 24 hours to remove all your possessions. That's the first notice.
Right.
Then if it's in Orleans Parish, if they're not out in 24 hours, then you have to schedule with the constable, and then the constable will, in addition to that, give notice to the resident that we are coming on this day. And they'll post it on the door also.
Okay.
So they receive at least 2 notices to know that somebody's coming to remove all of the belongings.
That's what I'm saying, like when they're moving in belongings, they take like one item, they're moving slow. And
Oh yeah, well remember at that time you changing the locks and your labor is there.
Got it.
So
when the constable said he's leaving, you can actually
That's
open the
it.
door and lock it.
That's it.
Okay.
Yep, that's it. Yep. So having enough people there to move as fast as possible. While they're moving things out, the constable is telling them to get your personal belongings, your passports, your underwear, your bra, all of that stuff. But everything else is about to get put out on the street.
All the belongings, say they leave them outside.
Yeah, and then now the resident has to get a U-Haul and get it from off of the curb, right?
What if they don't get off the curb? Isn't that like a violation? Like
It can be a code enforcement violation. Yep.
Who would that violation go to? The landlord or
The owner. Because remember, you have possession now. It's not on the
Yeah.
resident anymore.
But then you
So
can add that to your
small claims. Yep. If it gets to that point, if you
Are
get
we allowed
fined,
to just dump it if they don't do anything to it?
that's not my recommendation, right?
record.
Yeah. So, and I'm glad you said that. So some common misunderstandings which your clients tell you or ask you about, especially if it's their first rental property and they're taking it super personal that these tenants are doing this. Can we evict today? No, you can't evict them today. You can't shut the water off. You can't turn the lights off, right? You have to go through the process because it's way uglier if you do it the wrong way and then you are in court as a slumlord or a villain because the tenants have so many rights. So it is frustrating, it is annoying, but this the life that we chose with owning property, so we just have to roll with the punches. The tenant